It is a lovely Thursday morning on Camnet TV this particular morning. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the breakfast show. My name is Joe Smarter. Please rise and thrive this particular morning. Now we have a lot lined up for you, from government asking the private sector to give its support in the fight against the drought, to the Bank of Zambia increasing the monetary policy, and also to government securing $1 billion United States dollar investment into Zambia's economy. These and many more stories will be coming on our zooming headline segment. But for now, your health is your wealth. Let's go through our health corner this particular morning. Do stay tuned.
Good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. My name is Dr. Nakobiana Mfaya. So this week we are talking about a very interesting topic, and that is typhoid fever. Yesterday we talked about the signs and symptoms, and we say that some of the signs and symptoms of typhoid fever is that people would have fever, which is increasing every day, and they might also have constipation. Usually it's constipation first and then the diarrhea. Other times they might just have constipation, and sometimes they might just have the diarrhea. So the other symptoms would also be that they would have weakness of the body. They might also feel fatigued and just having body aches. Some of the other symptoms I left out yesterday were that they would have abdominal pain. So they would feel this pain in the abdomen, and sometimes the abdomen may become distended. So they might feel this fullness or bloating of the abdomen. Other symptoms are that they would have some rash that can develop on the trunk or the stomach or the abdomen. So this rash, we call it rose spots. Usually it's some red dots that would appear on the abdomen, and these would signify that somebody has the typhoid bacteria that have caused these rashes in the skin. So those are some of the symptoms of somebody who has typhoid fever. So now today we'll discuss how is it diagnosed and treated in the hospital. So one of the things that needs to be done in the hospital when you are suspected to have typhoid fever is you need to do cultures. So usually it's blood cultures, stool cultures, urine cultures, even culture of the vomit. So if the patient is vomiting, you can use that vomit to culture and take to the lab so that they can test it and see if the bacteria is going to grow from that vomit. The other thing is the stool cultures that can be done because the bacteria is shed in the stool when the patient goes to pass stool. The other things is blood culture. So blood cultures would also show the bacteria in the blood. So that's one way that typhoid fever can be diagnosed. The other way is to do bone marrow aspiration. So they would have to put a needle into the bone marrow to get an aspirate and culture it. So that is a very sensitive test, and usually it yields positive results. However, it's a very painful test, and so it's not usually done or routinely done in the hospital. The other thing is doing a PCR, which can show if there's DNA of the bacteria in the blood. So those are ways in which typhoid fever can be diagnosed. Usually there are also other non-specific antigen tests that can be done. Those are not very specific, so we don't usually recommend doing them, but tests like Wilder test, sometimes they can be done, sometimes they might not, and sometimes they might yield positive results, sometimes they might yield false positive results, so they are not very sensitive. So the other thing is, in the treatment of typhoid fever, we need to know how is typhoid fever treated. So the treatment is through antibiotics. So depending on the area where you are at, there are certain antibiotics that are used to treat this infection. So we don't use any other medications apart from antibiotics, because they are the ones that attack the bacteria and kill the bacteria. So there are certain places where certain antibiotics don't work because they have become resistant. So you find that the bacteria has become resistant to that type of antibiotic. So they might not use that specific antibiotic. So the doctors will be able to know what antibiotic to give you based on also the cultures. So if the cultures come out, the culture results are out, and they can be able to show the sensitivity of the bacteria, what drug is sensitive or what drug is resistant, so that they can treat you according to how your body is going to respond to the bacteria. So that is how typhoid fever is treated. So it's also important that the patient who has typhoid is given fluid replacement, because of course if they're having diarrhea, they will be depleted of fluid. So they would need to be given fluids to just replace their fluid volume in the body. They would also need to be given good nutrition. So good nutrition is very important because it provides the body the capacity to heal and the capacity to recover from the infection. So the patient would need to be put on a very soft diet that is going to offer them nutrients to be able to fight the infection and also to recover from the infection. So those are things that need to be considered when you are having a patient who has typhoid fever. You need to take care of them very well. Make sure that they wash their hands every time they use the bathroom. Those are things that you need to teach the patients or talk to the patient about. If it's your relative or if it's yourself, make sure you are observing good hygiene so that you don't infect other people as well. So I do hope you have learned something today. Today we're talking about the diagnosis and treatment of typhoid fever. We say that typhoid can be diagnosed through cultures of the blood, the urine, the stool, and also cultures of the vomit if possible. Also, it can be diagnosed through a bone marrow aspiration, where a sample is gotten from the bone marrow and it's cultured. The other way is through PCR and some other antigen tests that can be done to show if you have the typhoid bacteria antigens. So the other thing in the treatment is that we talked about that it's treated through antibiotics, and these antibiotics, they are specific antibiotics of choice that each hospital would recommend for their patients, also based on the culture results and the sensitivity results of the particular patient. Then we also say that patients with typhoid fever need to be given fluids and they need to be given good nutrition. They also need to observe good hygiene so as not to infect other people as well. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Facebook at Dr. Nakwenamfire, or if you've missed any other episodes, make sure you watch my YouTube channel at Dr. Nakwenamfire. Do not forget to subscribe as well, and do not forget to follow me on Facebook. I'll see you again next time. Stay blessed and stay healthy.
Okay, that's our health corner there with our resident doctor. I hope you learned one or two things when it comes to your health. And like they say, your health matters. Now, from our health corner to At the money markets, we get to look at the foreign exchange rates and see how the kwacha is faring against major convertible currencies. Now, as you can see in front of your screen there hasn't been much change from yesterday. The kwacha is still at 25 kwacha. Now, the United States dollar obviously is buying at 25 kwacha and selling at 25 kwacha 52 ngwe. Now, we haven't seen any significant difference there, still the same as that of yesterday. The euro is buying at 27 kwacha 16 ngwe and also selling at 27 kwacha 17 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 31 kwacha 65 ngwe and selling at 32 kwacha 27 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 37 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 39 ngwe. Now, if you saw the exchange rates for yesterday, you will discover that there hasn't been significant difference there. They are still the same, and these have been updated today, 16th of May in the year 2024 at exactly 07:13 hours. As you're getting into town to conduct your businesses, do remember that these foreign exchange rates do vary from bank to bank and from bureau to bureau. Talking about issues that have to do with money and numbers, we go into our first story where the Bank of Zambia, BOZ, has increased the monetary policy rate, MPR, from 12.5 to 13.5% to limit the forecast persistent rise in inflation and depreciation of the kwacha. Now, speaking during the Monetary Policy Committee announcement Wednesday, Bank of Zambia, BOZ, Governor Dr. Denny Kalyalia says arriving at the decision, the committee took into account various factors such as the inflation, depreciation of the kwacha, drought, among others. We do have a story, we do have a clip to this particular story. Please stay tuned and let's see this clip.
As the economy is overheating and many feeling the impact of the situation, the need to cool it down cannot be ignored. In what is regarded as a measure to keep the inflation of the country in check, despite it standing at 13.8% against the target band of 6 to 8% and the Bank of Zambia's forecast of an average increasing inflation of 13.7%, the Bank of Zambia Governor Dr. Denny Kalyalia Wednesday announced the upward adjustment of the monetary policy rate from 12.5% to 13.5%. While admitting that the move will cause further pain to citizens as it tightens liquidity in the economy, Dr. Kalyalia explains that the measure is aimed at addressing inflation, which is projected away from the target band of 6 to 8% in 2024.
At its meeting of Monday and Tuesday yesterday, decided to raise the policy rate by 100 basis points to 13.5%. This was informed by a number of factors. Even at 13.5%, you note that it's still below the inflation, which is around 13.8%. So calibrating it to that level was a subject of intense discussion and poring over information to see how best.
Speaking during the Monetary Policy Committee briefing, Dr. Kalyalia also revealed that due to the continued increase in inflation, depreciation of the kwacha, and drought, among other challenges, the country's economic activities have declined from the projected 4.4% economic growth in 2022 to 2.36%, calling for the need for stakeholders to do their part in strengthening the country's economy.
We have done, and we believe that it will help in arresting some of the pressures that we are experiencing in the economy, and once those are reduced, they should spur other activities in the economy.
Meanwhile, the bank has disclosed that the electronic balance of payments monitoring system is still being worked on before operationalization.
It should be no doubt with anybody that this system is here. It's going to be expanded in the ways I've discussed, and if we don't get cooperation fully from our partners, we will be escalating how we make sure we get cooperation, and that is already provided for in the law. But our understanding is first let's engage, let's educate so that everybody's on the same.
This increase in the monetary policy rate means a reduction in access to the kwacha, thereby creating a demand for the local currency, which the central bank hopes will stabilize the exchange rate and in turn reduce inflation amid challenges such as the energy deficit, drought, among others. The economic performance is hoped to rebound in 2025, driven by improvements in the mining and agriculture sectors, among others. The revised economic growth projection by the Bank of Zambia comes weeks after the International Monetary Fund released a report downgrading Zambia's economic growth rate to 2.3% from the projected 4.7% in 2024. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, so that's a story coming all the way from the Bank of Zambia yesterday, where there was an announcement in the increase of the monetary policy rate from 12.5% to 13.5%. And the Bank of Zambia Governor Dr. Karyalia explained that inflation currently stands at 13.8%, and the bank has forecast persistent rise averaging 13.7% for the rest of the year, and if nothing is done, macroeconomic stability will be undermined. The bank has revealed that Zambia's economic activities have dwindled from the projected 4.4% economic growth to 2.3%. Okay, those that are good with numbers, obviously you do understand this particular story and what it means. But we urge you to come through on our lines and be able to give your own submission regarding this particular story. And also, you can get interactive with us on our Facebook page. That's Camnet TV. Leave us a comment and be sure to contribute, and let's get interactive. What do you understand about the increase in the monetary policy rate? Of course, these are numbers and semantics that we throw around, but for a layman out there, what does this mean? Simply put, if you have a loan at a bank, you got a loan at a bank, it means that when it comes to paying back that loan, your interest will go up. That's in a layman's language. If you got a loan and you need to pay back at any bank that you got that loan from, it means that the interest rate rather will also be increased. So in a layman's language, that's what it means. We move on. Government has called for increased support from the private sector to minimize the impact of the drought. Now, speaking during a donation of 1 million kwacha made by Stanbic Bank, Vice President Mutalena Rumango says government needs about 23.5 billion kwacha to help the 6.6 million people affected by the drought. Meanwhile, Stanbic Bank Zambia Limited Chief Executive Officer Mwindwasya Kalima expressed the bank's commitment to assisting the government in addressing the needs of affected areas. Let's go on this particular clip of the Vice President and the DMMU, including Stanbic Bank. When we come back, we monitored the Vice President's Facebook page yesterday, and we'll be reviewing some of those comments. Please stay tuned. We'll go on this particular clip.
According to the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit Drought Response Plan, which is based on two key pillars that include the immediate humanitarian assistance and an early recovery and resilient mechanism that will enhance coping capacity of people to climate shocks, May 15th, the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit have received 1 million kwacha from Stanbic Bank as assistance to help the government cushion the impact of climate change in affected areas. Stanbic Bank Zambia Limited Chief Executive Officer Mwendwa Siakalima says among the other initiatives the company is undertaking, it thought it wise to lend a hand to the government amidst the current conditions.
In response to His Excellency's call for immediate relief to support those that are vulnerable, so that they have access to clean water, food, and essential services. As a bank, we have decided to come in and extend a helping hand by donating 1 million kwacha as part of our corporate social responsibility. As I conclude, I wish to commend you, Madam Vice President, for the efforts in supporting those that have been impacted by this drought and climate change as the root cause that has caused the drought.
And Vice President Mutalena Lumango has thanked the company for the gesture, saying that the government needs 25 billion kwacha to ensure that the affected people survive to the next farming season. She says with the 1 million kwacha, her office is a step closer in meeting its budget and has urged the private sector to come on board and support government efforts.
That you have done very well, and this, to me, should be an opening for other private sector entities to come on board. As we look to other countries that are also affected, which means humanitarian support that one would generally expect from other countries is dwindling because they have their own challenges. So we look from within, first and foremost. This is how even others will say, yes, they are making an effort. What can we do to support them to survive? And this example said is very good.
The El Nino drought affected 84 districts out of 116 districts in Zambia, and about 6.6 million people require immediate assistance from the drought shocks. Cherish Sibote for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, so that's a story there from our reporter, Cherish Siwote. And obviously, showing the Vice President there, her owner, WK Mutalena Lumango, and also Stanbic Bank with that donation of 1 million kwacha. Now, according to the Vice President, 6.6 million people are affected, and what is needed is 23.5 billion kwacha to assist those people that were affected. But my producers went further yesterday and went and monitored the Vice President's page, Facebook page to be precise. Now, the Vice President on our Facebook page did make this post which read, and I quote, "Pain is inevitable in squeezing the boil, but the focus is on end results which must be complete healing." End of quote. You can as well go on the Facebook page of the Vice President under the names WK Mutalena Lumango and find that particular post. And we are interested in the comments. Obviously, feedback is very important in this case. Now, one of the people commenting there is Chanoda Fraxon Ngwira, who says, "A boil that has been squeezed for over 2 years. Wow." Then Gift Musukwa Vinkumbo also came through and said, "Seems you have this administration has nothing to offer," according to his post there. Then Arnold Chanda Chulufia says, okay, this is a local language. Okay, it's an idiom. It's a local language idiom. I don't want to say it. I don't know what it means. So I might just, okay, we leave it out. Ogach Micah Joseph also came through and said, "It's very bad seeing a great and honest vice president surrounded by wrong people, especially those in ministries that boast of recruiting more than ever. Anyway, a great king falls cause of his dishonest counsel. Now, Kuzwa Opiri came through and said, I like that you have given that example because it is also true that in the process of squeezing the ball, the person who does the squeezing never feels the pain. Kalimakunda came through and said, the tricky part is that the person squeezing the ball does not feel any inch of pain at all. Now, of course, we will squeeze you also. Okay. Shadrick MJ came through. Now, these are the comments accompanying this particular post that was monitored on the Vice President Facebook page under the names WK Mutadena Lubango. And obviously, feedback is important. So we are reviewing the comments that came through as a reaction to that particular post. Now, reminiscing from my heart came through and said, from a consequentialist standpoint, I agree with you, Madam VIP or VP. The end shall justify the means. Rombanya peaky progress. The ball is rapidly becoming gangarious. Alas, I'm afraid amputation will be a solution. Obviously, it's in relation to Zambia's economy. Godwin Mwanza says, you can't keep on complaining about the past in your life always. We gave you a chance cause you proved to have solutions, not this blame game. Lucky Muowo came through and said, hoping that people don't die of this pain, otherwise it will not be worthwhile. Fingers crossed. Noel Manyangu said, we know that the person who is squeezing does not feel the pain, so iliche. Sakala Koda Linus Jr. came through and said, amputation is the only solution apa. Ichipute chile kwanyisha 3 years apa. Okay, so those were some of the comments in reaction to the Vice President's post on her Facebook page that was monitored obviously by Camnet TV, a breakfast team, and the post reads as follows, and I quote, pain is inevitable in squeezing the ball, but the focus is on end results, which must be complete healing. Now, also yesterday, the Bank of Zambia governor, when he was asked as to why he was comparing Zambia to other developed countries with developed economies, why was he comparing Zambia to that? Obviously, in a clip that has gone viral from one of our colleagues in the media, Prudence Shorter, that asked this particular question to the Bank of Zambia governor, and his response was that this particular situation that Zambia is currently going through, seeing that the central bank has increased the monetary policy rate from 12.5 to 13.5%, is necessary because even those developed countries also underwent through these challenges that Zambia is currently going through, and the Bank of Zambia, they saw it fit to increase the monetary policy rate. And our colleague in the media did suggest that it's expensive to borrow. She wants to develop a farm, but it has become expensive to borrow. Production costs are high, and it's hard for her to develop her vegetable farm. Now, she also gave an example of a layman out there who might want to engage into agricultural activities, or also who would want to borrow from the bank to boost their small business. But that's a response that came from the Bank of Zambia. And looking at the post that came through, right now, it seems like the Zambian economy is being referred to a person who's having a boil on their thigh, and the squeezing is painful. But like the Vice President says, total healing should be the main focus. We move on. Now, China. Okay, we move on to the China-Zambia Forum that was held yesterday at the Mulungushi International Conference Center, Kenneth Kaunda Wing, where the head of state, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, attended together with his ministers that were in attendance at that particular event, and other dignitaries, obviously. Now, government has secured $1 billion United States dollar investment into Zambia's economy from both Chinese and Zambian companies targeting key sectors. We do have a clip. We'll be talking more when we come back on the $1 billion investment. Please stay tuned.
In an effort to strengthen its bilateral ties with China, Zambia, today 15th May 2024, hosted the China-Zambia High Quality Development Forum aimed at soaring investments in Zambia to address the prevailing effects of the drought on the country's economy. The event, which saw several delegates from China, attracted into the country $1 billion worth of investments from Chinese and Zambian companies to cushion the severely affected key economic sectors in the country, such as agriculture, energy, and mining, among others. Guest of honor at the event, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, says government, through strategic investments with countries like China, is lobbying for opportunities to address the country's economic challenges arising from climate change. The head of state further stated that his administration will double the country's economy before its tenure elapses.
More than double the size of the country's economy. You think I don't know where those instruments are? I know. They sit right in what we're doing today. In 28 shafts, in Mopani, in the difficult case here. They sit in irrigation agriculture, they sit in energy, they sit in these places. So, today, memory lane, if you like, in addition to what I've said, I'd like you to remember and pass it to someone who needs to be positive a little bit. You cannot achieve nothing if you're not positive with what you do. You'll be an average person, maybe below average. We have to tackle the challenges that face us head on.
President Hichilema further underscored the importance of strategic partnership with countries like China in revamping the country's economy.
These are relationships that we must all build on. These are relationships we must all use as a foundation for what we want to do. And I make a specific reference to us who are privileged to serve in cabinet, to serve as senior government officials, cabinet secretaries and others, that we need to be alive to these things. When we are pursuing initiatives with friends like China, we need to know that we should not denigrate these relationships. We should build on them. And one way to build on them is to deliver on our obligations.
And Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Chipoka Mulenga, says his ministry remains committed in facilitating for mutual and quality investments into the country.
Colleagues, in my first statement, you must have noticed that I'm emphasizing on high quality, and high quality. 3 times I mentioned. This comes as a result of the trip that His Excellency President of Zambia took with the delegation of his cabinet ministers into China last year in September, where the President of China and our President elevated our diplomatic engagement to a higher level.
Meanwhile, China's ambassador to Zambia, His Excellency Mr. Du Jiahu, says China remains committed in offering support to Zambia to revamp its most lucrative economic sectors.
As comprehensive, strategic, and cooperative partners will continue to work together down the road to modernization. In this process, we upgrade the China community with a shared future, where we share responsibilities.
And the Zambia Development Agency commended government for creating a business-friendly environment that has since seen the country's economy recovering.
1,000 hectares. So you can imagine what happens between these two sizes of land. And also, Mr. President, just to mention that what we have
yet because of high levels of investor confidence. And these high levels of investor confidence have not just come about. It's because investors are telling us that they are seeing good leadership in Zambia and they are being motivated to come and invest in this country.
Chanda Mwango for Camnet News in Osaka.
Okay, so those were the happenings at the Mungushi International Conference Center yesterday at the Kenneth Kaunda new wing. Now, after that particular conference, obviously, we went through and decided to speak to some of the people, members of the public rather, regarding that particular conference and what they thought about that particular conference. And some of the things that me and my producers obviously discovered from some members of the public are that late last year, we were reminded rather that late last year, we were told that there was a commitment of over 40 billion United States dollars committed to this particular nation by investors that would come through in the year 2024, which is this year, now getting into 6 months. And these particular individuals were asking to say, how come we are not seeing these particular investments? How come we are not seeing these 40 plus billion United States dollars rather being actualized, more jobs to be created, industrialization taking root? And now we are seeing this particular conference where it was revealed yesterday that $1 billion investment into Zambia's economy from both Chinese and Zambian companies targeting key sectors. We need to know which key sectors are those that are being targeted against the backdrop of load shedding, against the backdrop of water rationing, against the backdrop of increased monetary policy rate, against the backdrop of low productivity levels, against the backdrop of 13.8% inflation rate. We need to know what are those key sectors, and is this investment going to have a trickle-down effect to the ordinary Zambian out there? How are they going to benefit from this particular $1 billion investment from Zambian companies and obviously Chinese companies? And these Zambian companies, which Zambian companies are we talking about? How many are they? We need specifics. We need a timeline. When are these going to be actualized? Remember, the political calendar does suggest that there's 1 year, 5 months remaining for this particular administration to deliver on its promises. And some of the views that we got from people out there, and obviously as we kept on monitoring the president's page and also the vice president's page, some of the comments coupled with those that we got from members of the public are asking the question that, look, the UPND came on a ticket of coming to fix the economic challenges of this particular country, and people are saying enough of promises. We've had you telling us you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to invest into this, but can we see you actualizing what you have been promising? That's what members of the public are saying, and those are the views that we got yesterday. And of course, also on Sunday at the stadium, these are some of the views that we are getting from members of the public. In as much as we were watching soccer, we are also asking questions from members of the public about what they feel about the current economic turmoil, economic malaise that the country is currently experiencing. We move on as we wait for our guest to come through. Now, our guest in our main interview this particular morning is Mr. Samuel Banda. He is the ANDD Executive Director now, that's Advocates for National Development and Democracy, and he'll be coming through to discuss a number of matters relating to what is currently obtaining. Now we go to the Electoral Commission of Zambia at the Election House, where the commission has noted a decrease in political violence during elections over the past 2 years. Speaking during a stakeholder engagement with Socialist Party executive, ECZ chairperson Mwangalaza Lomis said the commission is actively engaging political parties to address underlying concerns regarding the electoral process. And Socialist Party Secretary General Dr. Cosmas Musumali underscored the importance of ongoing engagement between political parties and the Commission to enhance the electoral system. We do have a clip. We'll be right back on the other side. Stay tuned.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia Wednesday afternoon held a stakeholder meeting with opposition Socialist Party executive over the challenges the Socialist Party have raised concerning previous held elections. Speaking during the press briefing, ECZ chairperson Mwangalaza Lomis says the commission will henceforth hold engagement with political parties in the country. Ms. Zalumis says compared to the previous years, elections held under the last 2 years have had minimal violence, but there is need to bring a stop to all form of violence in all elections.
Going forward, we can engage all the stakeholders, all the political parties that take part in the election as a starting point, and interrogate the issues that they are discussing and see how we can meet one another, either halfway, or how we can meet one another so that we know that there's no perfect solution, that the violence we are talking about cannot be compared to the violence that used to happen before. At least we haven't had serious violence that one can talk about, but we can still contain it.
And Socialist Party Secretary General Cosmas Musumali has thanked the Commission for according the party an opportunity to air out their views concerning the electoral process in the country.
The opportunity we're given today to speak about this is very welcome, because we have general elections in 2026, and what we have to start doing is to put our heads together, continue dialoguing, so that as we come to 2026, hopefully some of these issues can be resolved. We're also guided on some issues by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The use of process management structures that are at the lower level, the timely reporting of certain incidents, the collection of evidence that will make it easier for the Commission to be able to execute its work.
Meanwhile, Chief Electoral Officer Brown Casaro says the meeting with the Socialist Party was fruitful as they have identified areas of improvement and agreed to commit to an open and continuous communication process between the Commission and political parties.
Recognize the importance of the lower level structures in the electoral process, specifically the district conflict management committees, in resolving conflicts at those levels and thereby enhancing the processes towards the participation of all parties involved. The Commission and the Social Party also took note the importance of open communication and the Socialist Party in particular expressed its appreciation of the open lines of communication.
Cherish Siboti for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, so that's what was obtaining yesterday at the Election House, Electoral Commission of Zambia. Yesterday you saw the chairperson there, Madam Mwangalaza Lomis, and also the electoral, the CEO, if you like, the electoral officer there, Mr. Brown Casaro, and also Dr. Cosmas Musumali from the Socialist Party. They are an opposition political party that has been participating in by-elections, and obviously in 2021 they also participated. It's headed by Comrade President Fred Membe, that particular political party. Now what is coming there is that there is no violence regarding the by-elections that have been conducted since 2021, post-2021 to date. There are no incidences of political violence. Coming from where we're coming from, we used to see individuals hacking each other, political cadres broke as they might have been, but they will still go ahead be used as political tools of violence and end up hacking each other, some even dying in the process, some even being hospitalized, some even being detained in police cells. So that's where we're coming from. But we're being told there's no violence currently. We are waiting to see the situation because, like we keep on reminding politicians, that the political calendar is ticking and time in political office is limited. 1 year, 5 months, the country will be going back to the polls to elect their candidates from councillor, council chairperson, member of parliament, and also presidential elections. And we do have a number of political parties in Zambia as stipulated by our democratic tenants. Now we move on, we go to court matters, where our roving reporter Nelson Zulu filed in this particular report, where the Lusaka Magistrate Court has revoked former Defense Minister Geoffrey Mwamba, popularly known as GBM's bench warrant, after he presented himself on Wednesday before Magistrate Sanford Ngobola. However, Magistrate Ngobola has ordered Mr. Mwamba to only present proof of his medical report from government institutions going forward. In this matter, Mr. Mwamba, who is currently on his defense, pleaded not guilty to 24 counts of failure to declare interest in being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, and on May 7, 2024, the court issued a warrant of arrest against him for missing a court session. We do have a clip on this particular story. Let's go on this clip. We'll be right back.
On 7th May 2024, the Lusaka Magistrate Court issued a bench warrant of arrest against former Defense Minister Geoffrey Mwamba for missing a court session despite his lawyers indicating that the accused was unwell. Lusaka Magistrate Sanford Ngobola ordered that Mr. Mwamba appears on Wednesday, May 15, 2024 without fail to explain why he missed a court session. And when the matter came up, Mr. Mwamba explained to Magistrate Ngobola that in the early hours of May 8, 2024, his oxygen intake began to reduce while home and decided to go to the hospital. He told the court that while admitted, he directed his son to find his surety to appear before court with a sick note and a report to indicate that he was admitted. Mr. Mwamba explained that he was admitted for 4 days, making it impossible for him to appear before court. This led to Magistrate Ngobola revoking the bench warrant which was issued against him and ordered that, going forward, GBM should only be presenting proof of sickness from a government facility before the court while expressing displeasure that the accused has been on stand since 16 March 2023. In this matter, Mr. Mwamba, who is currently on his defense, pleaded not guilty to 24 counts of failure to declare interest and owning property deemed to be proceeds of crime. Among the 24 counts, GBM is facing 8 counts of conflict of interest, 1 count of money laundering, and 15 counts of owning property suspected to be proceeds of crime. However, one of the defense lawyers applied for the court to allow the accused to seek medical attention abroad. Meanwhile, the court reserved May 24, 2024 for a ruling on whether to grant GBM permission to seek medical attention abroad or not. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Okay, you could tell from that particular clip, as the former defense minister is limping, walking out of court premises. Now his bench warrant has been revoked, obviously. Let's move on to another story away from court matters to Barosiland, western part of Zambia, where the Mongo District Commissioner Morgan Akabeswa has called on residents in the informal sector in the district to register with the Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board to access social security benefits and improve their lives. Now, Mr. Kabeswa made this appeal during a stakeholders engagement and sensitization workshop organized by the board to extend coverage to the informal sector in Mungu. Speaking earlier, board team leader Jimmy Shwandi expressed the importance of planning for workers while on duty, as injuries can impact their income level. We do have a clip from our roving reporter Kabila in Mungu.
The Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board, established under the Workers' Compensation Act No. 10 of 1999, is responsible for providing social security schemes to compensate workers for accident and disease contracted during employment. As part of its mandate, Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board has embarked on a stakeholder engagement and sensitization workshop to extend coverage to the informal sector in Mungu. The workshop, officiated by Mungu District Commissioner Morgan Akabeso, aims to raise awareness and educate its stakeholders on the importance of social security coverage for workers in the informal sector.
Of course, it is exciting to note that Workers' Compensation Fund Control has come for the sole purpose of extending the social security coverage to the informal and formal sectors. So I would like to call on the Mungu residents and all the informal sector players in our district to ensure that you register with Workers' Compensation Fund Control. Embracing this important initiative will change your lives for the better. We call upon the board not to relent, but to continue spreading the good news of social protection for the people of Zambia.
Jimmy Shwandi is Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board team leader.
We are here in Mungu for a series of activities on awareness and registration of the informal sector. Because we have realized that the informal sector is accounting for 72% of the workforce, and for certain districts and provinces like Mungu, the percentage is even more. It is very imperative for workers to plan for their duty whilst they are still able, because we realize that once they get injured, their income levels are affected, and some injuries or diseases take long to heal.
Participants expressed their gratitude for the initiative, which seeks to protect the welfare of workers in the informal sector.
People have been left out, and there are a lot of issues pertaining to compensation issues that have been pending with the employers and the employees, which has been there for quite some time. But now that it has come, we'll be able to sort out all these issues that we are dealing with.
Nituke ya kulwa kuna kama sherehe ya uko bako ya kulwa kuna kama sherehe ya una hawe over mwakozi yetu wao wako na kuibusisaga peni kale kwa bana.
Mosebo Kabila, Camnet News in Mungu District of Western Province.
Okay, now from Western Province we move on. Now the Gender Division Permanent Secretary Mainga Kabika has praised Chief Mumbi of the Nsenga-speaking people of Petauke district in Eastern Province for providing land to women in cooperatives to be used for agricultural purposes. And Ms. Mainga, who inspected the land yesterday morning, has assured the traditional leaders of government support by providing irrigation equipment. We did monitor Zanis on this particular report.
As government embarks on a journey to boost agriculture production in the face of climate change, traditional leaders have also joined the noble cause by allocating huge pieces of land to women cooperatives for agricultural purposes. In Petauke district of Eastern Province, Chief Mumbi of the Nsenga-speaking people has given a huge portion of land with an already installed borehole to women cooperatives in his chiefdom. The move that has delighted Gender Division Permanent Secretary Mahinga Kawika, who inspected the land.
For us as government, we are very thrilled, obviously, to be here. As you can see, all this land that has been provided for by the chiefdom of Chief Mumbi here in Petauke. Suffice to say, this is the only way that we can support the economy. It doesn't matter where you are. I think we have enough land in this country. Let's all go for agriculture. Let's ensure that no one dies with hunger. Let's ensure that our children go to school with a full stomach.
Wife to Chief Mumbi leads a cooperative which is ready to engage in agriculture.
So that now that they've come on board, we are going to partner, and I feel with the irrigation, we are going to go a long way. And I feel this is going to cushion the food shortage. And when we are equipped, when they bring the full kit of irrigation, I'm sure within 2 to 3 months, we are going to start this project. And for the next 6 months, I'm sure we are going to put food on the table for the Zambian.
Petia Simutale for Zanis News in Petauke, Eastern Province.
Okay, so that story there, courtesy of Zanis, coming through all the way from Eastern Province. Now, we move on. In another story, government has apologized for the confusion caused by the issuance of a warrant of distress by the Kabwe Municipal Council demanding payment of ground rates from a Chinese, from Jiangxi Multi-Facility Economic Zone, MFEZ, which is under Chiwombo District. Now, Central Province Permanent Secretary Milna Mwanagampwe, who yesterday led a team of council and district officials from Kabwe and MFEZ, noted that the structure is in Chiwombo and all taxes and levies should be paid by Chiwombo Council as declared by President Hakainde Hichilema. We do have a clip. Let's go on this particular clip. When we come back, we'll be joined obviously by our guest. Stay tuned.
Confusion erupted last Monday when Kabwe Municipal Council sent bailiffs to seize property following the issuance of a warrant of distress to Jiangxi Multi-Facility Economic Zone for failure to pay ground rates by the multi-million-dollar project, which is in fact under Chiwombo District. Central Province Permanent Secretary Milna Mwanagampwe led government officials from both Kabwe and Chiwombo districts to a closed-door meeting where the matter was resolved.
And so it's not a minor investment, it's a gigantic investment that requires all of us to put hands together and make sure that we support this investor. I'm aware by the year 2028, this investor will be able to employ more than 7,000 people.
Kabwe Mayor Patrick Chishala took responsibility of the matter.
To request government that I think you give us an opportunity to sit and discuss this matter.
Chiwombo Town Council Chairperson Newton Nyeleti says government wants to maintain the good relationship which exists with China.
And we are here once again to offer the investor confidence that we are here to protect their investment here.
This MFEZ, as it will benefit a lot to start with to our youth, because it will boost jobs which our youth will benefit.
Kabwe District Commissioner Lennox Shimwambwa has stressed the need to take advantage of other investments to raise revenue for the provincial capital.
I think Kabwe has a lot of land that we can still put together with the leadership of His Worship the Mayor and the rest of the team, so that we can also begin to look at investment opportunities.
Hlupekile Nkonika for Zanis in Chiwombo.
Okay, Mr. Banda joins us this particular morning. Like we earlier said, that in our main interview, the Executive Director for Advocates and National Development and Democracy will be coming through to join us and discuss a number of issues all pertaining to national development. Mr. Banda, good to see you and welcome. You look smart, sir.
Thank you very much, Joe. Good morning, and good morning to our dear viewers out there.
Okay, fantastic. I love the suit, though. Okay.
It's by God's grace.
We thank God.
Thank you so
we
much.
thank God. Now, let's kickstart the ball rolling, Mr. Banda. You are an advocate, number one. Number two, you do have a banking background. But my main interest, Mr. Banda, is for that layman that is watching out there. Yesterday, the Bank of Zambia increased the monetary policy, Mr. Banda, from 12.5 to 13.5%. And inflation rate, according to the Bank of Zambia governor, is at 13.8%. Mr. Banda, kindly make a layman understand and the economic implications of this particular development that took place yesterday.
Thank you very much, Joe, and I'm happy you have guided that I should make it, should explain in the most simple terms,
please,
for an ordinary Zambian to really understand the implication of increment of policy monetary rate by Bank of Zambia from 12.5% to 13.5%. I want to indicate, Joe, that the increment is detrimental to our domestic economy because of the negative economic implications that it will impact our own domestic economy. Now, what that means, the increment means that financial participants, the banks, small lending institutions will increase interest rates on both individual and business loans. What that means is that accessibility of financial capital for those who are doing business will be very costly. It will be very expensive to access loans from the banks. And this increment will also discourage one who wants to get into business and doesn't have capital. It will discourage that person to access capital because of the high interest rate on the loans. So this increment will hinder economic growth. And for those who already have loans with banks,
what happens to them?
The interest rate, either the interest rate will be added on the loans. There will be more money added.
But is that fair, Mr.
Or what will happen, the banks will decide to increase the time frame of repaying.
Increasing.
Yes, they repaying the loan. So this increment is detrimental. It's going to injure our domestic economy. On the other hand, it's going to raise the cost of doing business, which is already high. So the cost of doing business will continue increasing. As a result, these small businesses will die. We are killing our own SMEs, small businesses, which play a very important role in driving economy. They contribute highly to the growth of our socio-economic development. Now, that marketeer, for example, from Mtendere, who wants to grow the business but they don't have a small capital, they won't be able to access a capital. Already, there's no liquidity in the economy. The other implication is that this increment will suck away liquidity from the economy, meaning that it will reduce also the purchasing power from the citizens, purchasing power of basic commodities, which already the price of basic commodities is high. So money will become more scarce, getting money away from the economy, reducing purchasing power from the economy, meaning that these people and businesses also won't have customers.
So there will be no money in circulation. Is that what you're trying to say, Mr. Banda?
Yes, exactly.
There will be no money in
circulation.
circulation.
There will be no money. No. There won't be any more money in the economy. So there won't be that balancing scale, you know, of liquidity and commodity. We may largely have more commodities in the economy and less liquidity. Meaning these people, business entities, will not have customers. Meaning their businesses will collapse. Others already are limping because of the high cost of doing business. We have always been advising that the best solution to control inflation, unfortunately enough, Joe, this government is focusing more on controlling inflation than formulating policies that will enhance production and empower their own citizens, reduce the cost of doing business, ensure that they stabilize the kwacha, which plays a very important role in reducing the cost of doing business. Now, our recommendation is that government should focus on investing more in key economic sectors if they really want to control inflation.
That's what came out yesterday, Mr. Banda, at the Mulungushi International Conference Center, KK Wing. But my concern, and obviously these are the concerns of members of the public that we interacted with, the question they're asking is, if government is talking about investing in key financial, key sectors, economic
so
sectors,
let me give a practical example of key economic sectors. We are talking of mining, which is our primary sector. We are talking of agriculture. We are talking of manufacturing. These are engines of our economy, Joe. So with this increment, we should also expect the cost of production to go high. I mean, the cost of producing goods will go up. As a result, the prices also of basic commodities will increase. Already, the majority Zambians are failing to cope up with the rising prices of basic essential commodities. Now, government should focus on increasing production in these key economic sectors so that we are able now to increase export trading volumes, so that we are able to generate more forex to stabilize the kwacha, consequently which will lead to reduced cost of doing business. Hence, we'll be able to facilitate the reduction of prices of basic commodities. So this government, instead of focusing on increasing policy monitor rate, they should actually reduce policy monitor rate and focus on the increasing production in key economic sectors, especially mining, agriculture, and manufacturing.
Okay, so on that one, Mr. Banda, you are good with numbers. You have a financial background. We chose journalism because obviously we're not good with numbers. But I want you to make me understand and make a layman understand out there. Zambia's GDP grew by 12 billion United States dollars between 2021 and 2024, from $18 billion to $30 billion, says the development agency. Hold on, I want you to see something. And also, it has been revealed that poverty levels grew from 54%, Mr. Banda, to 60%. It's not adding up. If you ask me, I'm not good with numbers, but it's not adding up.
I totally agree with you, Joe. I want to say it's a sad development because as NDD we believe that economic growth must translate actually to improved living standards of the people. It must translate to increase production. It must translate to increase apart from production, employment levels. Yeah. So if you look at economic fundamentals, are not balancing up. It's not really making sense because from within the same period, poverty levels grow, meaning that there's no more economic productivity in our country. I give a practical example. These key sectors, we have seen less productivity in the mining sector, government failing to meet certain critical deadlines. The practical example is of KCM, Mopani, which recently government managed to engage an investor. But looking at the time frame from the 2021 to 2024, government has not been able to achieve certain critical economic deadlines.
So
in the
how
mining
did the
sector.
GDP grow?
Now, that's where now we are failing to understand, because if you look at poverty levels also grew. Yeah. So it's not really making sense, because it's not translating to, it's not in any equation to any economic activity. So Zambia Development Agency must explain to the Zambian people what economic factors that led to the growth of our GDP from 18 billion to 30 billion. Otherwise, that statistic is not making sense to the Zambian people. We believe
figure is being inflated artificially, Mr. Banda. I want to find out, because as a layman, this is, for lack of a better term, not making sense too.
That is why I'm explaining that Zambia Development Agency should be able, since they're the ones who produce those statistics, also Zambian Statistics Agency produce those assessment of poverty, statistics of poverty level after they did their own poverty assessment within the same period. And we understand that poverty levels have increased because of less economic productivity, less employment, low employment levels in our country, high cost of doing business, which has continued to kill small businesses, which are key in creating employment, especially also among the youths. And also, if you look at the agriculture sector, we have not been very productive in the agriculture sector due to late delivery of farming inputs, coupled with droughts this year. So,
but Mr. Banda, somebody will argue on the agriculture sector. I'll tell you for a fact that if you look at the northern circuit, they've been enjoying a very good rainfall pattern. Go to Mpulungu, go to Mbana. There was good rainfall. Why didn't we take advantage of that? And why didn't we listen to technical advice that was coming from technocrats telling us that there's a looming drought that will come, and this comes every after 10 years. We saw this administration going ahead to sell the maize that the country had.
The over 1.5.
Yes, in reserve. You are aware of this story, Mr.
Now, if you look at the agriculture sector, there are so many contributing factors that play a very important role in terms of production of agricultural produce. Apart of the rains, there are farming inputs. We talk of fertilizer. Fertilizer and other farming inputs, particularly maize, was delivered at a late time. So we have to begin to deliver farming inputs on time if we are to increase our productivity. Apart from the poor rainfall in other regions, southern, eastern, and central. Of course, the northern circuit had enough rains, but we hear reports that fertilizer was being delivered in very late February, somewhere there. When it is supposed to be actually be delivered in January, prior to that actual farming season. Under the PF administration, we saw farming inputs were being delivered on time, more especially in the rural area where they largely depend on agriculture. Hence, this is one of the key reasons why we had more bumper harvest between 2018, 2019 to 2021, somewhere there. That is the reason why we actually had more reserves for maize. We had about over 1.5 metric tons of maize in our strategic reserves. When the UPND came into power, unfortunately, the agriculture minister told us that we have enough stock to take care of our people, and they decided to export some. They decided actually to export almost everything. Yeah.
Then we started importing.
Then we started importing. So it's not making economic sense. You export, then you import. When we saw some stakeholders are giving advice to the government that don't export maize. Don't export maize because it will affect our national food security. But the agriculture minister, Honorable Mtolo Pili, went ahead and actually informed the nation that we have enough stock.
So why are
Today we are importing, unfortunately. We wish government had heed to the advice from stakeholders. And I say indeed, we have always been saying that government should have a listening ear to what stakeholders are saying. Especially the ordinary Zambians must put the interest. We must be patriotic. We must put the interest of the country first. So government, in the interest of the majority Zambians, should have heed cause to some stakeholders not to export maize. But here we are. We must progress. We must find a solution to the current economic problems that we are going through as a country. Scarcity of food, scarcity of employment, load shedding, detrimental policies. The part, for example, the recent increment of monetary policy rate, which will continue actually impacting our domestic economy, negatively shrinking our domestic economy, killing small businesses, increasing poverty. We should expect actually
but
the
GDP
the response to reduce.
The response, as we conclude on that matter, the response from the Bank of Zambia governor, Dr. Denny Karyaga, yesterday, he did make mention that this is necessary. Developed economies out there went through what we're going through, and it is necessary that the country goes through the current economic challenges to become triumphant economically. This is necessary.
But I will tell you, developed countries, I'll talk of America, China, Singapore, our own African countries, look at Botswana, South Africa, they are focusing more on production. They are focusing more on production because production, that's where you generate more resources to develop the economy. Logically, we must use what we have to develop our economy. And by the way, no foreign entity will develop our country. It is us who develop our country. And Zambia only be developed by Zambians by using the resources that we have. So
that's
the
government management.
So the government must focus more on what should we do to increase production, so that in key economic sectors, so that we have resources even to pay debt. We have resources to set up industries. We have always been given practical examples that we have strategic minerals like Sujilite in Luapula province. Why don't we set up an industrial exploration to mine Sujilite, from the Luapula and use it, use the resources generated from Sujilite to support agriculture sector, to ensure that we also set up industries, production of fertilizer, so that we have our own fertilizer here. Invest more in nitrogen chemicals of Zambia. We already have the existing industry which is producing decompound fertilizer, which is nitrogen chemicals of Zambia in Kafue. I saw the president should be some 2 weeks ago, should be last week, when he was in Kenya. He emphasized the need of using technology and our own, producing our own fertilizer.
So,
which is very
Mr. Banda, let me find out from you. You are an advocate. You meet with these people. Before you lose your thought, why are these pronouncements not being actualized? The president has been on so many different platforms, times without number, talking about different pronouncements that are very attractive to listen to. And if you see him speak, you would see that this is a man with passion. He's talking about the things that he's passionate about. But these things are not being actualized, Mr. Banda. You talk to these people, you engage with these people. What conversations are you having as an advocate with these individuals that are close to the president?
Very critical question.
We're in a critical situation economically, so we need the critical.
We are really in a critical situation, and it's important that we must move in a trajectory where we begin to conversate without looking at political affiliation.
Exactly.
We must look at the solution, because this country does not belong to any political party.
Not at all.
To the UPND, doesn't belong to the PF, doesn't belong to FDD, doesn't belong to any political party.
Exactly.
It belongs to Zambians. So in the interest of restoring socio-economic development, we must begin to start conversating. And I'm happy that stakeholders like economist Abazoka is one of the people who've been calling for economic indaba.
You also
we also the advocates for national development and democracy, we've been calling for economic indaba, so that we can respond to the question that we are asking Joe, so that we can find out from this government to say President Hakainde Hichilema is making these good progressive economic pronouncements, but why are they not being actualized? President Hakainde Hichilema is on record of indicating that we have to reduce the cost of doing business, so that we create a conducive environment even for small businesses to grow. By doing that, we'll be able to create employment, reduce the cost of doing business, also increase our own GDP. But why are these pronouncements not being implemented?
That's the question.
This is a question now we must ask during that economic endeavor, because we are also wondering why these economic policies are not being implemented. Equally, the president is on record of advising his security agencies, when you come to democratic issues, but don't arrest people without investigating. But contrary to his pronouncements, we
that's
see
not happening on the ground.
Police arresting individuals, especially people from the opposition political parties. The president is on record of advocating, indicating that we have to promote democratic values, among them which is rule of law, the right to assemble, the right to association. But we have seen that opposition political parties are not allowed to hold rallies, which is detrimental to our own democratic values. Now, coming to the issue of implementing sound economic policies, which the president has been indicating, it's a sad development, Joe, and it's high time that we have to make our leaders accountable. Maybe his ministers are not helping him. Maybe we should advise the president to fire some of his ministers, particularly the agriculture sector. At some point, we called also for a firing of the Minister of Mines, Honorable Poka, for failing to meet critical deadlines in the mining sector, because we saw that this is a very engine of our country. Hence, we must progress in this sector so that we begin to generate more forests to stabilize the kwacha. When we saw that the kwacha started depreciating brutally, we knew, some of us, that one of the reasons, because we are not exporting our major commodity, which is copper, where we earn about 90% of forex, and the reason is because of non-functionality of key strategic mines like KCM Mopani, Kasenseli mine, which up to now is still closed up. So we called for a firing of Honorable Poka. So you
are calling for reshuffles right now?
We are calling for reshuffles.
For reshuffles?
Yes, we are calling for reshuffles. If his ministers are not helping the president, let the president...
players need to be changed?
Yeah, players needs to be changed. I'm happy with PS Information, Kawana. Is very active, proactive. And we advise that the president should promote such people like Tabu Kawana, because we have seen, not that we have heard, but we have seen that the man is very active, the man can deliver. So those are young people that needs to be promoted. So we are not shy to also recommend where we see individuals or government officials doing well, we'll be very quick to say, no, promote this one for the sake of delivering good public services.
How about the sports minister? He has also been active.
Yeah, equally is one of the people that he's shown, at least among the ministers, he's shown that he is hardworking. But anyway, let's focus on these key strategic sectors.
Fantastic.
We talk of mining.
I'm coming to the mining sector because you are very passionate about the mining sector, Mr. Banda, and your passion for the mining sector is admirable. But let me draw your attention to, let me take you to a copper belt, where we have heard that one of the major contractors of Konkola Copper Mines, KCM Service Limited, terminated employment contracts, Mr. Banda, for over 300 workers. How do you look at such happenings as an advocacy organization, and what can we do rather to avoid such occurrences under this stressful economic situation that Zambia is faced with?
I'm happy that we have emphasized how the stressful economic.
There's no better way.
Yeah, stressful economic condition. I'll just add brutal, stressful and economic condition. It's very brutal.
I like your choice of words.
It's
Mr.
very brutal. Thank you very much. It's very brutal in the sense that already we have this prevailing high cost of living. Again, I'll say brutal high cost of living because majority Zambians are failing to cope up. And getting reports that a contractor at KCM Mastermind terminating over 300 jobs because of a non-payment from KCM. It's a worrying and sad development job. And we are wondering how will these people be surviving rather. Already they are suffering because of the cost of living. It's too high, it's too toxic. And losing jobs, losing a job, it's a very sad development under this brutal, stressful economic condition. We are talking about people with families. We are talking about people with relatives who depend on them for support. So losing job at this point is quite a sad development. This calls for government serious attention and intervention job. It is the public domain, and we are cognizant of the fact that Konkola Copper Mine has been facing huge financial constraints to an extent that they are failing to pay their own contractors and suppliers. As a result,
let me find out there.
As a result, let me just qualify. As a result, these contractors and suppliers are now terminating jobs for their employees, because understandably they cannot sustain a huge wage bill because Konkola Copper Mine is not paying them for the same.
So the insinuations are correct, Mr. Banda, that KCM, because there have been some calls by stakeholders in the mining sector that KCM is financially incapacitated.
It's actually an intensive care unit.
Financially?
Yes, financially. It's intensive care unit.
Is this why there are suggestions to sell shares to...
No. Now look at this job. One of the... We have to look at the short-term solutions and the long-term solutions, whilst we are waiting for an investor vendetta who has the financial capacity and the financial capital to inject into KCM so that it starts operating at optimum level. Now, the short-term solution is that government should consider injecting the $24 million which was forfeited from former provincial liquidator, Mr. Meningolongo, into KCM, so that this money can clear off payment to the suppliers and contractors in turn, so that they can pay their workers. By doing that, we'll be able to protect jobs and the interest of the employees. So it is very important that government injects that 24 million.
Talking about
that 24 million, that 24 million, we believe that it belongs
to KCM.
To KCM. And
because it came from there.
Exactly. So it must be injected back into KCM so that in a short term, we can, it can help address these challenges happening at KCM.
Okay.
In the interim, you know, so that it can also help maintain the integrity of the mining asset.
Is Vedanta financially viable?
Exactly. Vendata is financially viable, is strong, it has a technical capacity, and we believe that it has experience. Remember that Vendata is the sixth largest mining firm in the whole world. You know what it means? Sixth largest mining firm in the whole world. You know what it means? It means they are a giant. Now, what does I know some people are saying Vendata is broke because they are failing to operate KCM. Now, let me put it on record in the interest of accountability and transparency.
Please.
Vendata apparently is not the one running KCM
at the moment
because of this prolonged transition process. Government is still operating KCM. Vendata will only begin to operate KCM after the transition process. Hopefully, after the creditors meeting scheduled for 24th of this month and 30th, we hope that government will proceed to hand over KCM to Vendata Resources,
but
so that this mining firm, Vendata, can begin now to inject their investment commitments, among them over 1.3 billion US dollar meant for mining capitalization development, and also the 20 million US dollar for corporate social responsibility program, which we believe that were best key sectors, agriculture, sports development, and supporting also educational programs. We also believe that Vendata has committed to clear off all the payments to the suppliers and contractors. They have that money, but what they are waiting for is just this transition.
Why is it taking long?
Transition process.
I'm asking you this, and I'm putting you on the spotlight because obviously when we reach out I'm putting you on the spotlight, Mr. Banda, because you have been following this matter keenly, and now you have a passion for the mining sector as an advocate. But let me find out from you, according to the conversations that you've been having, interactions that you've been having, why has it taken so long for this particular administration to hand over Vedanta to hand over KCM to Vedanta? After all, they are the sole owners of KCM.
Exactly.
So why is it taking long? What are the conversations? What's the limiting factor? What's happening?
I'm happy that the process is almost there to be concluded.
Okay.
If you are to put in percentages, I'll put it at 98%, because the last component, which is the creditor scheme of arrangement, is being handled now in the Zambian court. It's being handled, and this is the reason why the creditors, KCM creditors, will have a meeting on the 24th to discuss on the terms and conditions of how they want their investor in data to clear them off that KCM payment that KCM is owing these creditors. So they want to agree. After they agree, we believe that the court will give the consent, and we are hoping that these creditors, KCM creditors, will have one language, will move in one accord and support the scheme of arrangement so that we can progress. This issue, Joe, has procrastinated for too long, and it has continued to impact our economy negatively, as evidenced by the termination of employment on the copper belt, a lack of liquidity on the copper belt economy, particularly, and reduced economic activities on the copper belt. As you may be aware, that the mainstay business on the copper belt is mining, John.
Okay, and finally, Mr. Banda, we are only remaining with minus a minute. Let me find out from you quickly. IMF recently downgraded Zambia's economy projection from 4.7% to 2.3%. How do you analyze this sad development from IMF?
Everything is sad.
It makes sad.
Everything is going down economically. We are indeed in a stressful, brutal economic condition, which needs brutal economic solutions.
Exactly.
One of the brutal solutions that the President Agane Chilema, needs to fire some of his ministers. If the President is not seeing progress in certain ministries like agriculture, mining, he should fire the people supervising those ministries so that we are able to progress. Look, Joe, the downgrading of economic growth projection by IMF must be a wake-up call to the government, which is a major stakeholder, and the people of Zambia, that the economic policies that they are implementing, they are not helping the country to progress socially and economically. So we believe that government should begin to audit their own policies, if they are helping or if they are not helping. And if they are not helping, as evidenced by the report, downgrading of economic projection, government should begin to formulate sound economic policies that will enhance productivity. Once again, we want to say government should focus in key economic sectors: mining, agriculture, and manufacturing. Now, we can attribute this downgrade of economic projection from 4.7 to 2.3 because of certain policies and also certain reforms. Part of them, the load shedding, which is killing small businesses, SMEs, which play a very important role in driving the economy. Among other factors, lack of productivity, failing to meet economic deadlines in the mining sector, which is very key. Let's be honest with ourselves, mining still plays a very important role in our country. This country is a mining country. Even under KK was using mining to support agriculture, to support health and other economic sectors, and using one mineral, which is copper. Now we have a long mineral portfolio. We have sugilite, we have cobalt, we have manganese. So let's use these minerals. Government should be sure that we optimize benefits from the mining sector. That way we'll be able to improve our economy and decrease our GDP. As it stands now, we agree with IMF, and like I indicated, we can attribute to that degradation because of productivity in this key economic area. This must be a wake-up call. Once again, I want to say government should expedite processes in the mining sector, ensure that KSM begins to operate by within this month as soon as possible. Let me say as soon as possible. Government should ensure that the investor at Mopani begin to implement good corporate social responsibility, also to improve what was his town, so district where the Mopani mine is. Should ensure that there is high production there at Mopani mine. Essentially, good mine. The president was in Northwestern Province. He gave a directive to the Minister of Mines that we want to seek a sincerely open. We wanted it to open. There are also other mines in Northwestern Province. The president gave directive that we want these mines to start functioning. So we want to see all these mines start operating. Agriculture sector, we must be open.
As we go, Mr. Badu.
Yes, we must be open to our government. We must be transparent, and we must be open to advise them. And the government also must respect criticism, but criticism are the ones which are going to help this government to begin to implement sound policy for the benefit of everyone. Now, government should focus that farmers with those reports which we used to hear that Vasha meda fertilizer, that should stop. People should be able to receive right quantity of fertilizer. After all, the government promised that they will increase the quantity of farming inputs. So we want to see that actualized. By doing that, we'll be able to increase productivity in the agricultural sector. Manufacturing, this is a very critical sector because production, that's where more production happens. you know. So we have to reduce the cost of doing business so that we increase production of goods and services, John.
Okay.
I'm hoping that government will hear our advice, and I'm hoping not just to hear but also to start implementing these sound economic policies.
Okay. Mr. Banda, let me thank you more sincerely, and we appreciate you for always coming through to share economic sound advice. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'm always honored to be here. At least this platform helps us to communicate with our brothers and sisters out there.
Fantastic. And since you commended the information permanent secretary, I'm sure he must be watching. And, he will pick one or two things, I'm sure, from this particular.
Yeah, you know, it's important to encourage these people. You know, everyone wants to be encouraged. If they are doing the right thing, we will encourage them.
So he's one
we
of those
will commend them. Okay. And if you are doing something wrong, if you are doing something, remember, these are government offices. These are public offices. These offices belong to the Zambian.
And you can't live a private life.
They put you there. You can't live a private life. So when we monitor, you know, as development activists, as an organization that monitors development and advocates for development, we say if you are doing fine, we will commend you, we will support you, and we will ensure that we encourage you so that you continue working hard for the sake of the majority Zambians.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Banda there, he is the Advocate for National Development and Democracy Executive Director, Mr. Samuel Banda. Thank you so much for coming through, and thank you, the major stakeholder in this particular program, the viewer out there. Thank you so much for having chosen us amongst many. It is a Thursday. As we go, we say thank you to our director this particular morning, Mr. Isaac Chifrita, and of course, the entire production team. Now, I have been your host, Joe Smarter is my name. Until you see me, it's bye-bye and God bless. Good morning.